Strategist, also with Vigilant Technologies, Stephen Clark. Today we'll be providing attendees with a detailed understanding of security versus compliance. Can we go to the next slide, please? We will review guidelines for mobile device security, identify the building blocks to access security, discuss security improvements through governance, and then we'll wrap up today's talk by sharing how a trusted device model can redefine security in a brief Q&A session. But before we begin, let's first go over a few housekeeping notes. If you do have any questions, whether technical or related to today's topic, please submit them using the Q&A box on your screen. We will also have the full recording of today's presentation available to all attendees after, so you can view it later or share it with your colleagues. Let's start today with a brief discussion on who Vigilant Technologies is. Vigilant is a boutique global consultancy delivering advisory, implementation, and managed services for over 20 years. We are the quality choice, bringing years of knowledge and experience to all customers. When we can work in parallel with your team among many projects, and with leadership that's accessible and flexible to ensure personalized and agile service. We also have a proven success supporting clients worldwide, all of which are referenceable. We've been in business for over 20 years as noted, and along the way we've been in over 50 plus cloud implementations worldwide for our over 150 plus enterprise application projects for over 200 plus enterprise clients. Vigilant Technologies is headquartered here in Troy, Michigan, just outside of Detroit. We also have offices in Canada, Mexico, Argentina, Chile, and India, and also sales offices throughout the US. Vigilant Technologies is an Oracle Platinum partner providing support for all Oracle technologies, but we're also partnered in providing support for Microsoft, including Azure and Modern Workplace, along with AWS and Google Cloud. We have a lot of referenceable examples and great successes that we could share among a number of industries from manufacturing to retail that include both enterprise and small to medium-sized businesses. Our professional advisory and managed service models provide clients with an IT roadmap and consultation to map out your future state, implementation and upgrade to get you to your future state, and ongoing support to monitor and provide administration for your new environments. With that being said, I am excited to introduce today's speaker. Stephen Clark is the technology strategist here at Vigilant Technologies. Stephen is a graduate of the University of Oklahoma and has over 24 years of experience in information technologies with proven success helping companies with their Microsoft practice. With that being said, I'm happy to hand the stage over to Stephen. Stephen?
Thank you, Marcus. And team, thank you for making the time today to spend time around the Vigilant Technologies capabilities and to give our team the opportunity to address some of the profound IT security challenges that face every industry vertical today. Now, some of the things that we're going to talk about today address things like the bad actor concept. You know, attacks are becoming more and more targeted and as a result, more sophisticated. Secondarily, we're going to talk about how can you protect your digital real estate from a very broad and very deep perspective with the Microsoft ecosystem. Because again, it's all about having that 365, 24/7 approach to remediating bad actor threats. And last but not least, in regards to securing your environment, we're going to talk about how you can correlate data points and telemetry into actionable intelligence, and thereby use some of the auto remediation feature sets that are available in the Microsoft stack. Now, as we all know, there are a multitude of challenges when it comes to securing your data. There are phishing and whaling attacks in your email-based platform, whether it's Microsoft Exchange, Lotus Notes. But more importantly, the type of attacks that we're seeing are more socially integrated, meaning that social platform type integration attacks, whether it's a exploitation of a mobile phone or the exploitation of a Outlook client on an endpoint, those types of targeted attacks are those type of attacks which most of the time or predominantly lead to a loss of business or business disruption or potential losses in revenue or even in business reputation. So we're going to take a look today at how we can utilize the Microsoft security stack, the cloud app security based model, which is also a Gartner best pick, to ensure that number one, you have best of breed for access management, best of breed of solutions for cloud access security brokering, and more importantly, protecting your information, your endpoints, and then secondarily having the right management tools to bring clarity to what's happening within your ecosystem from a threat perspective. Now, as we all know, telemetry is really paramount to your team being able to remediate threats in the enterprise. There are Windows endpoint level threats. There is cloud-based Azure telemetry, and you can also utilize telemetry from an identity perspective, your email platform, and even documents that live inside of Teams, SharePoint, SharePoint Online, and so forth. But it's about bringing the platform and the transactions from those systems to enable you to have a unique vantage point from a Microsoft perspective of what are the threats? Were the threats remediated? Were they blocked? Were they quarantined? Or is there an exploit by which the Microsoft stack needs your input in order to resolve from end to end? Some of the things with the Microsoft security stack and that the Vigilant Technologies engineering team can help bring clarity to are the following. Number one, within cloud or hybrid cloud, identity and access management is paramount to building a solid foundation and pillar by which your entire ecosystem will be built. So by utilizing technologies such as Azure AD, Azure Sentinel, Azure Information Protection, or the Office 365 stack of solutions, we can then lead into, well, we have a solid identity platform, but what about threat protection mechanisms? Within the Microsoft ecosystem, you have things like Windows Defender, Endpoint Configuration Manager, Azure Sentinel, and the wide breadth of capabilities that allow for you to, number three, protect that information and ensure that the information lives in the correct repository, that it's not getting into the wrong hands, and that you have an understanding of the life cycle of that data. Again, protect the user's identity, protect the end user's device, ensure that you have threat protection across the enterprise. Number three, that your information is in fact protected and that it's not leaving your realm of control. But then more importantly, from a cloud security perspective, that you're safeguarding the user, the device, and the data across the work streams. And this is what we'll be actually demonstrating today in our review of Office 365 security capabilities. Now, when it comes to cloud-based capabilities and protecting your enterprise, identity is the security perimeter. So identity is not just about a human being. It's about a device, it's about an application workload, and it's about content. So by protecting the physical boundaries of your cloud-based solution sets or on-prem environment, you're also protecting the network and you're protecting the identity of devices, users, and applications. And as you begin to progress through the use of SaaS and cloud-based applications, you're able to ensure that those third-party solutions that you are taking advantage of are protected on the device, that you have a modern communication protocol in use, such as SAML token authentication, and that your permissions have a singular version of the truth from a cloud perspective. And this is where Microsoft Azure AD, from a cloud permissions perspective, is so strong. You have a singular version of the truth from the user perspective, a singular version of the truth from the device perspective, and ultimately you have a singular version of the app. So is this the right app? Do we have control of the application? Do we dictate the application of our SaaS-based cloud application portfolio? So again, protecting the physical aspect of your infrastructure, protecting your virtualized or physical network environment, but then also protecting the identity of apps, users, and devices. Now, one of the interesting aspects about the Microsoft ecosystem is you're able to actually stop attacks by use of the Compliance Center. And we're going to jump into this in a demo-based environment today. But first, I want to talk about how you can use the Compliance Center in Office 365 to take advantage of things like, number one, bringing an awareness to what threats and gaps do you have in compliance. If you have a PCI, ISO, or HIPAA-based compliance requirement, then what types of gaps need to be remediated in your environment? And this is where the Compliance Center brings that clarity. Number two, prevention and detection. By using the Compliance Center and having an awareness of, hey, we have the following gaps in our environment, you then prevent exploits from taking place and improve the rate of success of detection. And once you've had a successful detection and your dashboards are reporting back, whether it's via a workflow and Power Apps, which feeds a Teams channel to say, hey, we've detected a threat, it's been remediated, you may wish to take advantage of something called investigation and hunting. And this investigation and hunting capability within Office 365 is incredibly powerful. It allows for your team to develop playbooks and workbooks to allow a more progressive response to actual threats. And again, this is all about securing your enterprise. Now, for organizations that have a hybridized configuration with the Microsoft stack, one of the elements of the threat protection model that Microsoft offers is, of course, the ability for you to protect the identity, the device, the app, and of course, your collaboration and messaging-based platforms. We all have some degree of integration typically with Azure AD, and it comes in two different flavors, Azure AD P1 and Azure AD P2. And that singular version of truth allows for you to extend your hybridized environment, meaning on-prem AD, to third-party solutions such as UltiPro, SAP, ServiceNow. Again, all the heavy-hitting enterprise-grade application workloads that may be traversing public internet, whether it be on an iPhone, an iPad, or a Win 10 system. But with all of those application workloads, where Microsoft really excels is bringing clarity to the trillions of signals or the telemetry that's being gathered by those application workloads and your users and devices into a singular dashboard approach. And again, letting you know what has been remediated, what threats exist on a device that is being targeted to a specific user, and ultimately allowing for your team to have a little bit better sleep at night. In today's ecosystems, automation is completely a requirement. It used to be that automation was a one-off, but in today's environment, time is everything. And as exploits begin to take place, it's simply not enough to say, this exploit has existed, it penetrated our environment and didn't cause harm, and it's been happening for the last 6 months. You need instant automated based responses to threats. So whether the threat is remediated in real time at the edge, or the threat was remediated inside of your network, you need a solution set that not only remediates the challenge, but then gives you workflow-based capabilities in the essence of a Teams site was potentially exploited by an attachment, but the Microsoft ecosystem blocked the exploit, and a notification may be sent to your CISO via a Teams channel. And as a result of that workflow, maybe a ServiceNow ticket was kicked off by which you began to hunt out and determine how did this exploit, again, get access to or attempt to penetrate our Teams-based environment. And then number two, where did the attack come from? Again, your ability to gain a reconnaissance idea and concept of, did this come from an offshore resource? Did this come from a device that we own? Did this come from a third party that we work with on a day-to-day basis? But again, it's your ability to exfiltrate the data and determine where did our account, solution set, or gaps in our ecosystem cause the result of the exploit to take place in the beginning. So again, automated responses to ensure that human beings do not necessarily have to be involved in determining a path forward. Now, part of the Office 365 ecosystem also allows for you to, again, kill an exploit as it's in transit. So we all are very well aware of email-based threats, whether it be Exchange on-premise, Exchange online, SharePoint online, Teams, and so forth. But it's not just about protecting the user from a email-based communications threat. It's about ensuring that you have the ability to trace that communication from end to end. So whether it's protection at the mail flow layer, protection at the time of the click, or protection and gathering telemetry about the movement of that potential threat, you want to be able to quarantine, move it to junk, or quarantine, and evaluate at a later time. And this is where the Office 365 ecosystem really comes into play. So to wrap up just a few concepts, what is the Microsoft security advantage that your team, by working with Vigilant Technologies and engineering staff, can bring to the table? Well, number one, due to the fact that it's integrated, you have a powerful engine that's running behind the scenes 24/7 to ensure that you have an effective and comprehensive, and more importantly, automated approach to security. Now, what does all this mean? Well, first of all, it brings organizational-wide visibility into what's really happening in your environment. One of the things that the Office 365 capability that your team can take advantage of with the Security Compliance Center is you have real-time visibility into threats. You have real-time visibility into threats by device, by user, by communications platform, and by application workload. Now, this is very important. If you find that your executive team or a particular user base has a constant phishing expedition being conducted against it, it's important to know, is this a domain-specific targeted attack? Is this a specific topic-based attack? Is this a whaling attack? But regardless, you will see the actual exploits taking place in real time, and then you have the ability to drill down into things like the header, the email body, the attachment, the delivery status. Was this an impersonation-based attack? Was it targeted to a specific device or set of devices on your network? Again, bringing clarity to what's happening within your infrastructure. Now, more importantly, it's not just about outside threats. What about inside threats? Oftentimes, users may present a threat to the ecosystem unknowingly. However, there are moments where you may have a bad actor that exists within your organization. Within the Microsoft Office 365 ecosystem, you have a dashboard that actually learns as time progresses about abnormal behaviors. If you have an organizational, very broad and very deep structure by which you have information sharing, is it normal for the accounting AP/AR team to perhaps have informational sharing about payroll data with the HR team? If that's not normal, these types of tools give you the capability of determining what do we have happening with our own organization that could cause an exploit or a problem or a breach of privacy. But again, it's all about that machine learning capability that brings you insights into internal threats as well as external threats. Now, when it comes to anti-phishing, and again, it's sort of like firing back, but you want to know, are we being spoofed at this point in time? Do we have impersonation-based attacks against our identities? Has the global administrator account attempted to log on to our environment from an unsupported device? And again, going back to, you need to trust the device, to trust the user, and trust the application workload. And so with this type of capability, this dashboard tells you where you need to fine-tune your environment, what room for improvement do you need to take, and number three, again, going back to what gaps do we have in our environment. Now, one of the exciting aspects of the Office 365 ecosystem, Security Compliance Center, is the Threat Intelligence Dashboard. This dashboard has been completely designed from end to end to give you a visibility into what's important. This dashboard does not require subject matter expertise in regards to threats. And again, adding tremendous value in regards to your ability to quickly gain insights into what types of threats do we have? Is it targeted against a user or a set of devices? And again, built into the ecosystem from the minute that you launch it. Now, for some organizations, geographical-based threats are very important because you may have users that travel. You may have a very broad and geographically distributed ecosystem from an infrastructure perspective. So having things like heat maps pre-designed that tell you where the threats have been propagating across the enterprise will be very important. So what about automation? So automation, again, kind of going back to our previous discussion of automation, is becoming more and more of an expectation versus a desire. So automation within the Office 365 ecosystem is very broad and very deep. Things like automated alerts, the ability for you to analyze the alerts, investigate, assess the impact, and then more importantly, contain the threat is already baked into Office 365. And again, giving you the clarity to, should we respond and add human beings to the problem, right? Take a look at the issue, hunt and investigate the exploit, or has a response from Microsoft already taken care of the problem to begin with? And again, we'll take a look at some of the fundamentals of the Security and Compliance Center today during our demo. So some special takeaways.
Yep.
In regards to, go ahead, Marcus.
Oh, thank you, Stephen. Appreciate your time and appreciate the informative presentation. So just a quick friendly reminder to our attendees, if you have any questions related to today's presentation, please submit them now using the Q&A box on your screen. But before we do get to the Q&A session, I do want to share the special takeaway that we're offering to our attendees. Vigilant is happy to provide select attendees today with a comprehensive audit of your Office 365 environment. Stephen and team will identify gaps in your data, provide information protection and compliance, and help drive a path forward for best practices, along with providing a full report on our findings. This offer is limited. You can find my contact information on the slide here, so please reach out today to discuss, and we'll be happy to review with you and your team. With that being said, we are happy to get to the Q&A session. Stephen, we do have a few questions already. Let's get right to them. First, Stephen, can the Microsoft Cloud App Security Suite replace third-party security products?
You know, Marcus, that is a great question. First and foremost, the answer is yes. Today, we are servicing our customers by taking a look at if you have Symantec endpoint level protection or a third-party level endpoint protection mechanism, how can we utilize things like Intune, Microsoft Defender, Endpoint Configuration Manager to not only reduce cost and complexity, but to streamline pushing out devices, apps to users in a very secure way. So essentially, again, reducing cost, reducing complexity, and having that singular version of the truth with a dashboard provided by Microsoft.
Fantastic, thank you. Here's another one. How well does Azure Sentinel integrate with non-Microsoft products?
Another very good question. Azure Sentinel is a very robust theme-based solution. So for example, if you have products like IBM QRadar, New Relic, Logic Monitor, Splunk, or if you have SolarWinds sitting at the edge gathering telemetry about your network devices, user behaviors, application workload, uptime, downtime, and protocol utilization, you can actually take advantage of Azure Sentinel to gather that telemetry. The dashboards are pre-built out for you, and Azure Sentinel actually has pre-built playbooks to remediate threats. So essentially, going back to the concept of reduce complexity by reducing the number of vendors and solution sets that you have to work with, can actually expedite the remediation of threats. Because again, one dashboard, one version of the truth. Great question, by the way, Marcus.
Good. Here's another good one. What services can Vigilant immediately provide, such as architecture sessions, to bring clarity to the art of the possibility for security?
Yeah, that's another good question. One of the things that Vigilant can provide, and I'll be actually a part of this process, is what do these solutions look like in the real world? What types of licensing will I require to make this type of technology work for my organization? But more importantly, what about education and adoption? So again, going back to the workshop capability and the art of the possible question, I can actually demonstrate with our engineering team an end-to-end review of the Office 365 or modern workplace security stack and actually ingest telemetry from devices. So that way, everyone that's on the call can get a real sense of what can this solution provide to my team, how does it provide clarity, and does this actually give me the opportunity to reduce cost and complexity? And so we'd be happy to get those scheduled at any given point in time. We can actually tailor these demos based upon licensing SKU. So for example, anyone that's on the call, if you have an E3 license SKU, we can build out an environment that represents an M365 E3 licensing SKU. Or if you have an E5 and you want to see, wow, what do we not know about modern workplace and the suite of security options within the Azure Microsoft ecosystem, we can custom tailor an environment and tenancy to reflect what your licensing capabilities would grant you. But again, very, very good question.
Great, thank you so much. So we are approaching the bottom of the hour here. We will be wrapping this up, but I do want to take a quick minute to thank everyone for joining us today to learn a little bit more about modern workplace security and compliance. As I did mention in the beginning of today's presentation, we will send out the recorded version of this to all attendees. Feel free to review again and share with your team. However, you can find my information here on the slide shown. And just ask that you please reach out to discuss your operations, and we could review how Vigilant Technologies could help you create a roadmap to secure your company. Thank you all, and have a great day.